Yes, it's November. We have made it to the month of decision here in the National Football League. I'm Johnny Montalbano with Nick Morgasen. Nick, we're hitting the halfway point of the season already, and we're starting to enter a very critical month in the league. We'll maybe start seeing some separation with these teams, maybe some more about these teams. Easy for me to say, but this is going to be a very, very interesting week. I think. Is this the best slate of games this week on paper? No, but I think this is actually one of the toughest weeks to handicap, and hopefully we'll give you some winners. And unfortunately, I'm coming off my best week in week number 8. Hank and I both had winning weeks last week. I went 10-5, and Hank went 8-7. But if you look at the last 2 games of week 8 and the first game of week 9, we've had 2 brutal non-covers. So hopefully we can give you some winners this week. That's our plan. And I'll tell you, I think this is the kind of week where we could see some bold upset specials. So that's what we're going to try and do here. But as I said, 10-5 last week for me, 8-7 last week for Hank. We're separated by 2 games through 9 weeks, but through 8 weeks, and we'll see what we can do for you this week. So Nick, you ready to do this thing?
Yeah, and I was right in the middle of you guys. I was 9-6. So
very nice. And you know what? In this league, you'll take 9-6 every day and twice on Sunday. So
just don't tell that to the Bucs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll find out what happens this week. Again, a lot of very, very intriguing matchups. Again, it's not the best slate on paper, but these lines and stuff, I think we could be in for a very, very fun week here in week number 9. So let's do this thing, Nick. And we get it going with Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Shannon Spake on the NFL on Fox as the Los Angeles Chargers come off their bye week and travel down to Atlanta to take on the NFC South leading Atlanta Falcons. And the Chargers are 3-point favorites.
Now, I said this to Johnny before we got started. Is this Vegas tempting you to take Atlanta? That's what I want to know. A lot of these lines over the last couple of weeks, Vegas is like saying, please take an upset. We want the money. And I'm like, all right. Now, I got to give credit where credit is due. Atlanta has played really well so far. And were they the one with the statistic that they were covering a bunch of their home games or their games in general?
They've covered 7 of 8, if I remember correctly, so far.
It's an incredible stat that they've covered. They're not winning every game, but that means they're competitive in every game. So I said this on Empty the Bench last week, or this week, I should say. And I said the Chargers are due. They're not playing well. And I'll give you credit. It's not Justin Herbert's fault that this team is playing bad. It's a certain Brandon Staley might be the reason they're not playing well. But I think the Chargers are due. That's all it is to it. There's really not much analysis you could do for this game. It's Herbert versus Mariota. It's a mismatch in the quarterback department. So, I don't know. Also, did you see that weird trade the Falcons made also?
Yep.
I mean, you traded Ridley for basically a bucket of footballs, but
yeah, that's true. We are now in post trade deadline mode now too. First week with some of these new acquisitions.
But yeah, this is a crapshoot. So whenever it's a crapshoot, I stick with whatever or pick 'em. I'm going to stick with the favorite.
Yeah, what this line's telling me, Nick, is the Chargers are the better team than the Falcons. But it's that West Coast to East Coast early window. But the Chargers are coming off their bye week. When they're fully healthy, yeah, there's no doubt the Chargers are the better team. But that's been one of their problems this year is health. And Mike Williams is hurt. Keenan Allen hurt. He's out. Keenan Allen is for Sunday. And you look at this Falcons team, and it's Marcus Mariota is doing enough for them to win. But their run-heavy offense does hit a weak spot that the Chargers have. So I think they're going to run it some more. And even though you do have Justin Herbert and a Chargers team that I was very high on at the start of the season, to me, upset special number 1 here, Nick. I'm taking the Falcons to win outright and remain in first place there in the NFC South. Also, give me the team with the better coach. That's Arthur Smith and the Falcons. And I'll tell you, Arthur Smith's going to very quietly get some Coach of the Year consideration too there in the NFC. I mean, he's done a remarkable job with the amount of talent that they have. And they're right now in first place there in the NFC South. And I think they keep it going here. Upset special number 1, Falcons plus the 3 against the Chargers. And Hank, though, has the Chargers winning and covering in this one.
What was the projected number? 2 wins, they were saying, for Atlanta?
It might have been 2 or 3. I know I had 2 at the start of the season when we did the preview show, but
Hey, if you're not going to admit your picks at the beginning of the year like we do, that's lying as a podcaster or a sports podcasting host. We all thought the Falcons were going to be top draft pick. Now it's not looking like that at all.
I can't wait to go back and watch that show at the end of the year and see how much we've got wrong. Because right now, the way things are looking, I think we got a ton wrong. But
I think that's going to end up in the best of packages of both shows.
Absolutely. It's been that kind of year, but I think it continues here. So the Falcons +3 upset special in game number 1. It's Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins on the NFL on CBS as Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins travel to Chicago to take on Justin Fields and the Bears, and the Dolphins are a 4-point road favorite.
See, this one's a little bit, I should say a little bit, this one's a lot easier than the Chargers-Falcons. Dolphins just look great. When Tua is healthy, keyword, when he's not being concussed, he is one of the, I can't believe I'm going to say this, one of the better quarterbacks in football. I can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, it also helps when you have Waddle and you have Hill and you have Mostert, who's playing really well at the running back position. Their defense is playing great. And on the other side, you have Justin Field jumping over other opposing players and not tackling people, and that affects them from winning the game. I don't know. The Bears are a question mark. Like you see like 3 question marks on the top of my head. That's the Bears. So this one is a much easier game. Take the Dolphins to cover.
So if I was on Empty the Bench, Nick, this would be my lock of the week. It's only they're only laying 4. The Dolphins are, and look at these 2 teams post trade deadline. The Dolphins get Bradley Chubb and Jeff Wilson, and the Bears did add Chase Claypool, but lost Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith, their 2 best defensive players, and that's after giving up 49 points last week to the Cowboys. So
that trade was so confusing to me with the Bears, the Chase Claypool trade. Like, why? What? You're not competing this year. What do you need him for?
Yeah, I mean, maybe another weapon for Fields, but I don't know why you would do that. But look at this. Look at the 2 teams and the 2 rosters. This is the biggest roster discrepancy of any matchup in Week 9, and the weather there in Chicago shouldn't be much of an issue just yet. So, as I said, I love the Dolphins laying the 4 here. So, give me the Dolphins to win and cover. Hank's also got the Dolphins to win against the Bears.
By the way, trade deadline winners, they improved on top of a team that was already making its way up. They're going to compete with the Bills. I can't believe I'm saying that either, but not beat the Bills. Let's not be crazy. But they're going to compete with the Bills. And those games, have they played yet? I don't even know.
They played once. Yeah, that's the Bills' only loss so far this year. They do have another matchup later on in the season.
That might be a big matchup down the stretch.
No, absolutely. And you know what? If the Dolphins are fully healthy here with Tua, with their full receiving core and stuff, I think the Dolphins can be a very sneaky, dangerous team, even if it's only in a wild card situation come postseason.
And I think Mostert's been sneaky good too.
Absolutely. Now, I know they traded away Chase Edmond, but they did bring in another guy there in Jeff Wilson. I think he'll help too. And Mike McDaniel, talking about coaches of the year, I think Mike McDaniel's definitely got to get coach of the year there in the AFC as well.
And Chubb, who thought Chubb was going to be traded? The Dolphins just swooped in and made it look easy with this trade deadline.
Absolutely. And they took those 3 first-round picks that they got when the 49ers traded up for Trey Lance, and look what they've been able to do with them. You know what? That's the makings of a great organization. So we'll see if they can continue it here. I think they will against the Bears in Chicago. Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Oakman special on the NFL on Fox as the Carolina Panthers travel to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And the Bengals are laying 7.5 at home.
Yeah, this was interesting. By the way, wow, they're actually allowed to call a game in the States for the first time in a couple weeks.
Well, how about bringing them back onto the East Coast? They call 2 games in London and then call 2 games out on the West Coast. And now this is definitely the crew that's putting the most frequent flyer miles of any crew in football this year.
I mean, give them credit because most people don't want to travel to London and call those games.
But they're doing a great job abroad and in the States.
By the way, Mark Sanchez, very underrated. I think he's going to be a good broadcaster down the stretch.
Absolutely. And Kevin Kugler's a rising star. So, you know what? And Laura Oakman's a great sideline reporter. So, you know what? They've got, that's a great trio there for the NFL on Fox.
See, we like talking about the announcers as much as we do the football games.
Absolutely. We love everybody. That's why we give you the announcing crew here every week on the show.
But this was interesting. When we discussed this on Empty the Bench, I was so tempted to lean the other way in this spread because the Bengals got destroyed on Monday when we did that Monday Night Football stream. The game was over almost in the first half. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Bengals. Now, I'll give them one benefit of the doubt. Jamar Chase is hurt. He's usually the number one. But Boyd and who's the other wide receiver that they have?
They got Boyd and T. Higgins.
T. Higgins was a disappearing act. I don't know what happened. Or actually, for Halloween purposes, a ghost. You couldn't see him. So I don't know. The chemistry is not flowing. I mean, you're in week 9 and you're losing to the Browns last week in week 8. You got to sound the alarms.
Well, I think the problem with that game on Monday night, Nick, was you saw the Bengals of the first part of the season again, and that the offensive line was in shambles, and Joe Burrow getting sacked and hit around and running for his life again. I mean, if Joe Burrow's going to be having to do that and you can't protect him, this is not going to be a successful Bengals team this year.
Also, their defense.
He's been playing a lot better in recent weeks, but that was also because the line was holding up and it reverted back to early season form on Monday.
But the defense, and I said this on the stream when we did it, the Browns make it so obvious what their offensive strategy is. It's either give the ball to Hunt or give the ball to was it Chubb? And so Chubb and Hunt. They ran the ball 100,000 times during that game and they couldn't stop. And I give credit to the Browns. Hey, it's working. Keep doing it. I don't even remember a time where they consecutively threw 3 or 4 passes in a row. I don't know if you saw any of that game, but
yeah, it's not much with them. I mean, you don't want to with Brissett either. So
it was one of the quicker games too because they were running the ball so much.
Yep, and in a blowout situation, when they have the ball, that's what they're going to do.
But yeah, so I took the Bengals because I said they're due, but I think the Panthers are somehow going to make this competitive. I mean, PJ Walker out of the XFL now being named the starter officially. I did this in an ETB minute where they benched Baker Mayfield. I'm surprised they didn't do that a couple of weeks ago. It was only a matter of time. So PJ Walker is putting some energy back into this team, which I was not expecting. That doesn't have Christian McCaffrey, who was traded to the Niners.
Yep.
But the Bengals, I think, will win. Now, I'm kind of nervous after the goose egg they put up this past week, but I still think they're going to win, just not cover.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. And look at Carolina now. The last 2 weeks, they've been the more physical team in their last 2 matchups. And look, if it wasn't for DJ Moore's penalty, which, by the way, was not the right call.
That was horrible.
Yeah, the Panthers probably win that game against the Falcons, but they definitely. I mean, look, they beat Tom Brady and the Bucs 21-3. They've won again. They played very, very well against the Falcons. They looked like a new team that actually had some life, and I think they can do that again. Since he's a very banged up squad right now. Obviously, we know about Jamar Chase. They lost one of the defensive players for the rest of the season too, and
they lost 2 of them, I think, for the rest of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're a banged up team. And here's the other thing about Cincinnati: outside of the game against the Falcons a couple of weeks ago, they don't win games pretty convincingly. So they probably will win this game too. I'm not going to go to the full upset special here, but 7.5 points. I mean, heck, even if it's a touchdown, that's good enough. So Bengals win. Panthers cover. That's what I'm going to go with. I think that's what you're going to go with, and that's what Hank's going to go with too. The Panthers to cover. So I think we're all in agreement. Bengals win, but grab Carolina plus the 7.5 in Cincinnati. It's Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi on the NFL on Fox as Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers traveled to Detroit to take on Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, and the Packers are a 3.5 point favorite.
Well, I'm just going to get this out of the way.
RELAX.
Oh, as I have it on loop by accident. But my point is, we all know Aaron Rodgers is going to say, well, relax. Our team is not in panic mode. You're in panic mode. You're in massive panic mode. How many have they lost in a row? 5? 4, 5?
3 or 4.
4, I think.
There's 3 and 5 right now, and 3 games plus 3+ games out in that NFC North.
Yeah, this is. I mean, they should win. That's the logic. It's the Lions, for crying out loud. Now, I know you'll say it, and I believe it partially too. The Lions are competing. You can't say they're not a slouch team. Excuse me, but the Packers better win this game or the season's over, in my opinion. You can't go 3-6. If you're 3-6, you're done. Yeah. The Vikings are playing much better than you right now, and you lost to them already. So technically, you're down an extra game in essence because you already lost one.
That's right. Yeah, that's why. Hence the 3+ game factor.
So I'm just going to say this is the Aaron Rodgers factor. I think he'll step up and be angry. I hope. I don't know if the thumb injury is still a thing, or if he maybe he had a hangover from being in Salem, Massachusetts during Halloween, getting his witch's brew on. But I'm going to say that they have to win this game, so I'm going to take them to cover.
It is. By the way, it is 4 losses in a row. The Giants, the Jets, the Commanders, and then last week against the Bills. Even though they actually did look all right against the Bills,
they covered.
They did, yeah, they covered. That was one of my bad losses late last week, getting 11, and they only lost by 10. I know, but you've got the Packers. Hank's got the Packers. Look, this is what I look at in this matchup. I don't trust the Lions' defense, but I trust their offense. I look at the Packers. I don't trust their offense nor their defense. Upset special. The Detroit Lions, if they're fully healthy, which it looks like St. Brown's there. It looks like Swift's there. You saw it last week. They jumped out to a 27-17. I think it was 27-10 even against the Dolphins last week. I think they could do it this week. Give me the Lions in an upset special against the Packers. I'm not saying just cover. I think they win this game outright and send the Packers into a further frenzy. So Detroit plus the 3.5, and even if the Packers do only win by 1 or 2, you know what? I'll take it if it's inside of a field goal, because we all know how the Lions like to lose games real close. That's good enough for me too. So the Lions plus 3.5 is upset special number 2 in week number 9.
I always get nervous when people say they cover within 3.5, 3, because it's really hard to make a cover and not win in that close of a spread. If you're going to take them plus points, you're pretty much taking them to win for the most part.
If it's a tie game and Mason Crosby kicks a field goal late,
that's
but that's why that half point is so critical in this matchup. If this was 3, I almost would take Green Bay, but I think it could be a field goal because the Packers, I mean, they're a mess on both sides of the ball. The Lions are just a mess on defense, and unless St. Brown or Swift goes out again for the Lions, I know that T.J. Hawkinson's not there either, and that's going to be a big deal out of the tight end position. They actually
big trade with the Vikings,
especially in Division 2, and that is going to hurt. But I still do trust the Lions to put up points in this one. The only question is this the game? Is this the get right offensive game for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers? It might be, but I still don't think it's going to be enough. So give me the Lions.
Yeah, you're taking the Lions. Okay.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I was going to say if they lose, the season's over. In my opinion.
Yeah, they can't come back from
3-6.
From 3-6, and let's say that. And I know we're going to get to the Vikings game in a few minutes here, but let's say the Vikings beat the Commanders and go to 7-1. You're not coming back from 4+ games down with a half a season to go.
Plus a victory already against the Packers, so it's really 8-1 if you want to think about it.
Pretty much, yep. But I'm going to go with the upset. Lions plus 3.5 in Detroit, and will probably be the biggest game for the Lions outside of their Thanksgiving game this season. So let's go with that. I know you were looking forward to this game, Nick. The Raiders and Jaguars over there in Jacksonville. It's Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and Aditi Kinkobella on the NFL and CBS, with the Vegas Raiders laying 1.5 in this matchup.
I feel bad for this announcing crew. I mean, I know. And when you look at the rankings of the announcing crew, I think this is technically one of the lower crews, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Johnny, or no?
I think so, but still,
I feel bad for them.
Catalan's had a few of these this year, but
stinkers, you mean?
But hey, you're calling an NFL football game. You know what?
Oh, no.
No such thing as a stinking thing.
I totally get it. Calling football games are fun, but this is a stinker in a lot of ways. I feel bad right off the bat. I mean, I felt bad for the ESPN's second crew that was calling the Jaguars on ESPN Plus out of London, but that's a whole different issue for another day. I can't take the Raiders. The Raiders have been a dumpster fire mess. Now, we could say the same thing. The Jaguars are not playing great either. They should have won against Denver, and they didn't win. Again, this is another pick'em game. A lot of pick'em games this week. But yeah, the Raiders are. What did Devontae Adams had 3 yards last week?
3 yards receiving, and Derek Carr threw for 101.
I mean, come on. Like, the Raiders are a joke. And everyone thought they were going to compete for a division title.
Well, it's so weird because a couple of weeks ago they scored 38, and then they lay the dud against of all teams, the Saints. That's really
that hurt.
That says something.
Yeah, I'm upset city here to win outright because you're not going to just take them to cover on 1.5. So Jaguars win.
You want a fun fact or kind of an unfun fact, depending on how you want to look at this. These two teams are 0-10 combined in one-score games. So
say that again?
They are a combined 0-10 in one-score games.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah. We had that with the Broncos and the Jaguars in London. I think they were 0-9 combined going into that matchup, and these two just as bad.
So they have no clutch gene, basically.
Well, I think if you're that, it means that you are terrible in situational football.
That's what I mean. No clutch gene.
Yeah, no clutch gene. See, I look at this and I just can't think for the life of me that Derek Carr and Devontae Adams are going to have that kind of crappy game again. You know, I do trust. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence has had his moments too, but he's also struggled. I do trust Doug Peterson more than Josh McDaniels. But
oh my God, you've been all over McDaniels.
Look, it's been one of the things I also said on the preview show this year was coaching was going to take down a lot of teams this year, and it's taking down the Raiders, it's taking down the Broncos. I'm afraid it's going to take down the Chargers, who I had going very, very well this year. But I somehow have more trust in the Raiders stars, if I can say such a thing. So I am going to take the Raiders to win and cover and pray again in this spot. So I'm going to take the Raiders -1.5, and Hank's also taking the Raiders to win and cover down there in Jacksonville. And I think that's kind of telling too, because Hank's been a big Jaguar guy this year, and he's taking the Raiders in this spot. So we'll find out there. It's a great gumbo. Adam Archuleta, AJ Ross special on the NFL on CBS. It's the Indianapolis Colts with Sam Ellinger heading up to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. And, oh, wow, this seems kind of familiar. It's November, and the Patriots are 5.5-point home favorites.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I think Vegas is tempting you again. I mean, who are we going to get? I see you, Zap. I don't know if we're going to get that.
I think Mac Jones is starting on Sunday.
I don't even like Mac Jones. I'd rather have Zappy. It's more fun watching him play, actually.
Yeah.
But the quarterback situation with Sam Ellinger starting for the Colts. I don't remember. How did he do last week? Do we know?
I mean, he was okay. Not anything to write home about, though.
I mean, in that case, obviously I'm going to take Mac Jones because Mac Jones has played, but he's been hurt this year. The offensive line has been a struggle for the Patriots. We don't know who the number one receiver is going to be because there's some injuries in the Patriots wide receiver. Is it Myers? I thought he was hurt. And I think Jonathan Taylor's out again, right?
That is correct. Jonathan Taylor is out again for the Colts on Sunday.
All right, then that pretty much sealed it for me. Patriots cover.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor didn't need to be out for me to pick this one.
Well, that made it easier.
It helps with it, yeah. But think about it. It's November. Stop me when you've heard this before. It's November, and I love the Patriots in a game.
Well, when they had Tom Brady, that was an obvious thing.
Sure. But, I mean, how do you not like him this week against this Colts team? Now, again, with no Jonathan Taylor there, that means more pressure for Sam Ellinger against this Patriot defense.
And they traded Hines to Buffalo.
Right. Yep.
So who's the running back? There isn't.
I think it's Moss who came back.
Oh, the trade. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, against this defense, too, I mean, the Patriots defense has been there all season except that one game against the Bears on Monday night.
Also, no offensive coordinator either, who they fired.
Yeah, that I don't know what they're doing over there in India. Somebody did take the Colts to win the AFC South. There's another one, by the way, we can say for the archives. But, yeah, I love the Patriots here laying the 5.5. And with no Jonathan Taylor in 2, I mean, unless Sam Ellinger is going to step up and make some throws, I just don't – we don't really have enough evidence of that. So I'm taking New England even by a touchdown. That'd be good enough. New England wins and covers in Foxborough. Hank, though, is taking the Colts plus the 5.5, maybe to keep it close, upset special. But
how does Frank Wright still have a job, by the way?
Well, Jim Irsay came out a couple of weeks ago and said that he's safe.
How?
But you're going to fire everybody else around him. That's kind of what doesn't make any sense. But
okay, okay, go.
No, I was going to say, if you're going to fire everybody else around him and you're not going to end up making the playoffs this year, I think once the season's over, like Black Monday rolls around, he'll be out.
But I'm confused though. Who hires the staff?
You're right.
So if the staff is being fired, usually the coach is not too far behind.
You would think so.
I don't know. The Colts are a tough team to figure out this year.
Yeah, but I think New England's in a great spot here to win this one. New England, and I haven't said that much this year, but New England wins and covers there in Foxborough. It's an Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn special on the NFL on CBS as the Buffalo Bills travel to MetLife Stadium to take on your New York Football Jets, and the Bills are laying 11 points in this one.
So regardless of when we did the picks, it was a 13-point favor when we did it, and now the lines come down a little bit. I'm still frustrated by last week against the Patriots. They should have won that game. That was the most obvious. That would have been the momentum bringer if they had won.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you go into Buffalo and you could say, oh, wow, I'm on a 5-game winning streak, and momentum is on our side. We might not win, but at least we are confident to come in and maybe have a chance against Buffalo. You know, Buffalo is a diehard favorite for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I still think the line is big. It's a big line. We've seen it over the years that double-digit lines are hard to cover.
Especially on the road.
On the road. That's the thing that shocked me the most. That they're an 11-point or a 13-point, however we were looking at it. That's a lot. I think the Jets are not a slouch team. I think they can compete. I know they lost Breece Hall for the year, who looked really, really, really good. I also like Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver, who looks amazing lately. I don't know what's gotten into him. The problem is you have a quarterback that doesn't throw the football enough to him down the field, and Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson is going to cost them this game. I don't think this is going to have anything to do with the wide receivers or the running back. He does not throw the football enough. He's going to get outthrown and outyarded by Josh Allen. But I don't think they cover. I think the line is too big. You don't cover that many on the road. So I'm taking the Bills, but it's not going to be covered.
Well, see, the Bills have now, I think their average margin of victory this year has been more than 11, which is why that line is the way it is. I mean, I know they had one close 4-point win there in Kansas City a couple of weeks back. But Nick, when I was looking at this game, I want to go back to last week for 1 second, because one thing doesn't get. I mean, I know everybody wants to talk about Zach Wilson and the penalties and stuff, but one thing does not get mentioned enough from that game last week, and that's actually how good the Jets played defensively.
True, absolutely true.
Right? I mean, you're holding the Pats to field goals by Nick Folk, who was a huge difference in that game. But here's why I'd be concerned here, obviously, with the Jets side. We all know about how great the Pats defense is. We saw them; they were rushing after Zach Wilson all game. I mean, he was running for his life. I mean, we saw him. You know, he had to throw the ball away, and at times he couldn't throw it away. We saw that. I think that's going to be more of the same here. Here's what I would love to see the Jets do, though: run the ball more. I know Breece Hall is no longer there. He can't be running the ball 15 times a game.
They have Robinson, though.
Yeah, I mean, you got James Robinson. I understand. I mean, I know you've got who's the other running back they've got there?
Yeah, that's right.
I think you can't have Zach Wilson be throwing the ball 41 times, and you might be having to do that again because they might be trailing from the get-go against Buffalo.
I wish he would throw the ball 20 to 30 times a game, though, and be what today's quarterback is. Zach Wilson sometimes doesn't even throw the ball 10 to 15 times a game. I was actually happy. He had 350 something yards, but they still lost. I want to see more aggressiveness of throwing the football.
Yeah. See, the problem is though, it's against this Bills defense, which is so good at pressuring without even blitzing. It's really problematic. I mean, the Jets' offensive line was not good last week. It might be a problem again this week. But here's what I would think about this game. I think the Jets come out hungry. I think maybe don't be surprised they even score first. But as far as the Bills go, keep the ball out of Zach Wilson's hands. Long drives, that might do something too.
You have Hines. Run the football.
I mean, look, they're a great team, the Bills. That's an obvious statement, but I definitely think they get this done. But I'll tell you, I think the Jets defense actually gives them a chance in this one to at least cover it, even if it's a 10-9, 8-point game, something along those lines. I was thinking it was going to be along the lines of like 28-18, something along like that. So I'm going to take the Jets plus the 11 in this one before their bye week. And Hank agrees with me too. He's also got the Jets covering the 11-point spread. But I think it's also showing you, I think money is coming in on the Jets because when you guys did ETB on Wednesday, it was at 13, and the line has come down throughout the week. So I think the Jets will make this interesting. But, I mean, the key is also I think Zach can't be throwing the ball 41 times. He might be throwing it that much because they might be trailing early, but I just don't think you can be doing that. I think you've got to run the ball more. I think LaFleur has got to get more creative with the offense here. I know it's going to be tough against this Bills defense, but I think you've got to try and keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, and that's the way to do it.
I don't even think he was throwing because they were trailing. I think he was being forced. If you saw one of those plays in the back of the end zone where he almost took a safety, and I would have lost my mind if he didn't throw that ball away. Yeah. Or the play where he tried to throw that ball out of bounds and got picked. He got picked by McCourty twice in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. And also, I know most people are going to say this is being sour, but I think it actually did affect the game. If that penalty is not called on the roughing the passer, I think they win that game. I really do. It would have been 17-3 on that recovered touchdown.
Nick, it's not a reach to say that is a season-altering penalty, a season-altering moment right there.
I think because, like I said to you, if they win, they go in with massive confidence maybe in this game.
And they could afford a loss here against Buffalo. I think now is going to be a lot of pressure if they lose this one. I know they come out of their bye week, and then they have some
the Patriots.
Yeah, and then they got the Patriots coming out of the bye. I know they got some favorable matchup, but they also have some challenging ones too, second half of the year. So
they have the Lions. I know the Lions is one of the matchups they have down the stretch.
The Bears, the Lions. I know because they're playing the NFC North this year. But if towards the end of the season, Seattle, who's going to be a wild card team. Now, the Miami game, though, might be interesting because maybe Miami's already got something clinched by week 18, so who knows. But a team right now that you didn't go into the season expecting this, but now they're basically telling you that they could win almost 10 games this year. We'll see. It's kind of a swing moment, but I think they keep it close, but ultimately, in the end, the Bills are just way, way, way too good in this spot. So that's what I'm going to go with here.
By the way, speaking of Iron Eagle, and I know we're really doing football picks here, I'm happy for him that he's getting more of these lead roles, though, now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be the lead guy now on the NCAA's March Madness, which is awesome to see. You know, we know how great he is locally and nationally doing basketball, the NBA, and now here, of course, with the NFL and, of course, with Westwood One. I mean, Ian's the best.
He's really I hate when, don't get me wrong, I like Nance on football. I like Buck on football for the most part when he's not calling Cowboys games. But I actually, my number one is really Iron Eagle, in my opinion. I've grown up on Iron Eagle, watching net games and all that stuff. So,
well, you got him 2 straight weeks now because you had him last week against the Pats, and now you've got him this Sunday against the Bills over there at MetLife Stadium. It's a Chris Myers, Mark Schlereth, and Christina Pink special on the NFL on Fox as the Minnesota Vikings travel to Washington to take on a rejuvenated Commanders team. And the Vikings, the NFC North leading Minnesota Vikings, they are 3-point road favorites.
Now, I'm sure you and Hank will get into this on episode 32 as well of Game On. Big news coming out of the Washington Commanders side that, oh my God, Dan Snyder. Oh my God, I don't know why I forgot that. Dan Snyder hired Bank of America to get ready a sale for the Commanders. Now, that could be huge. That could be momentum. Players might be rejuvenated to play again, I hope. Taylor Heineke's actually looked halfway decent. I know he's got that incentive in his contract that I think if he plays 60% of the games, he gets a raise and whatever he's making. I think he's going to get to that number wholeheartedly with Carson Wentz being out. But I like the Vikings. The Vikings have been really good. Jefferson has finally found his stride again after looking horrible the first, 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And let me check. It's not a primetime game, so Kirk Cousins might...
Yes, let's do the Kirk Cousins checklist. Primetime game?
No.
Nope. National televised game?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, then he's going to win. Cover.
That's it, Nick. See, I don't even need to add anything else to that. We'll move on. No, I will say why. I'll tell you, I actually really almost thought about taking the Commanders in this spot, but I look at the the tackle duo of Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill there from the Vikings, and I think that they can actually stop the biggest strength in the Commanders in their pass rush here. And Washington, as I said, very rejuvenated team these last 3 weeks. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if they pull this out, but the line is just low enough that I will take the Vikings in this spot to win and cover. And Hank's also taking Minnesota to win as well. So that could take Minnesota to 7-1, and that would be amazing to see. So Minnesota minus the 3 in Washington. It's an Adam Amin, Daryl Moose Johnson, Pam Oliver special on the NFL on Fox. It's an NFC West matchup, Nick, as the Seattle Seahawks travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And for the second time in this matchup, the Cardinals are the 2-point favorite.
Vegas has a death wish, don't they? I mean, like, no, I'm sorry. Like, this is so bad. Seattle, and they're doing this based off preseason ranks for the most part when they figure that, oh, they're going to be a great team. Well, no, they didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know why they're doing this whole thing. I don't care if you have DeAndre Hopkins or not. Seattle is on fire. I mean, if you had Geno Smith on your bingo card for playing absolutely out of his mind football, I give you a lot of credit in the world if you did. But this is so wrong in so many ways. This was my lock against the spread to win outright.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing you could say that's different between this and the first matchup is that Kyler Murray does have DeAndre Hopkins and Robbie Anderson there. But, I mean, look at them last week against Minnesota, and they didn't look great. And then, you know, their clock management down the stretch in that game was just absolutely brutal. Again, there's another coach, by the way, that's costing them games too, Cliff Kingsbury.
He looks horrible. Horrible.
Absolutely. And so you know what I'm doing? I'm taking the team with the better coach and the quarterback who I trust more. Give me Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, and the Seattle Seahawks upset special number 3 here over the Cardinals in this one. But Hank is going to trust Kyler Murray and the Cardinals to win since it is a low number 2. They could even win by a field goal at the end there. So the Cardinals minus 2 for him. But Nick and I are both going upset special here with Seattle plus the 2.
Did you think you were going to say that, utter that sentence? I'm going to trust Geno Smith.
There's a book that's going to come out at the end of this year saying things I never thought I would say in 2022. And number 169, I think I've lost count how many there are, is I trust Geno Smith in a football game. In an NFL game, I trust Geno Smith. What a world, folks.
Oh, my God.
Well, think about it. I mean, between the Falcons winning upset special, between my pick of the Lions and saying Geno Smith over Kyler Murray, I mean, this is such a wacky week, and there's still more, folks. But I'm going to take Seattle plus the 2 in this spot against the Cardinals. It's Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson on the NFL on CBS. This is an NFL playoff rematch here as the Rams travel down to Tampa Bay. Bucks a few extra days off since last playing about 10 days ago, as it's Matthew Stafford taking on Tom Brady and the Bucks, and the Buccaneers are laying a field goal.
If this was a true to form game where everything was in the proper place, Tom Brady was playing like himself and not a shell of himself, if Matt Stafford didn't have his elbow injury really showing its true self, if the Rams receiving core was actually healthy, and now we're hearing Cooper Kupp kind of got banged up last week.
It does look like he's going to play, by the way.
But he's banged up though, for sure.
And that's a big problem, yeah.
Because Matt Stafford does not throw the ball to anybody else. So I don't know. If this was all true to form and Tom Brady was actually had everything, I think they would cover. But I just don't like the way Tom Brady looks right now. I don't like the way the team looks right now. Their chemistry is off. And I think he retires at the end of the season. Shocker right now, putting that out there. I think he goes into the Fox booth next season. But I'm taking the Rams. I just think the Rams are the better of two evils. I'll put it that way.
That is well said. I don't know how many more times I'm going to go to the Bucks train here, but this is what I'm going to say.
You've been riding the train hard.
And a lot of my losses are just based on the Bucks. But when I look at this matchup, I think the extra time off is going to be beneficial to them, the extra 3 days or so. That was part of the problem I had against the Ravens last week when I did take Baltimore, by the way. So I want to give credit where credit is due. But yeah, no, I mean, other matchups I've gone with them and I've got burned.
The Panthers.
Yeah, that one too. By the way, that was a 13-point favorite too, and look how that got burned up.
They got stung big time.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this, and I know the Bucks don't really have much of a running game, but it looks like in some areas they are starting to get healthy. Russell Gage is not going to play Sunday, but they have. But here's the thing, though, with the Bucks, they do have more weapons than the Rams. When I look at it, and it looks like their secondary is going to be getting healthier, and they do have their defense has not been an issue this year. So when we talk about the Bucks, their defense still does keep them in games. I think they give Matt Stafford a problem here, and I think these extra couple of days off actually do help them. The Rams, to me, are still another team that has a lot of issues right now. And if Kupp's going to be banged up and really that limits what he can do, then where do the Rams get their offense from? So lesser of two evils for you is the Rams. The lesser of two evils for me is the Bucks. I take them to win and cover and see what happens here. And Hank's taking the Bucks as well, minus the 3 in this one. It's Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, and Melissa Stark on Sunday Night Football on NBC as the Tennessee Titans, the hottest team in football right now, winners of 5 straight, go to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's not a typo. The Chiefs are a 12.5-point favorite.
Yeah, this is crazy. And I'm trying to look at the line to see where we were at. Oh, it was still 12.5. So it hasn't moved.
Yeah.
It's been stuck on 12.5, which I would have thought maybe this would have come down a little. I would have thought, because I feel like some people are tempted to put money on the Titans because of the Chiefs' offense has been a little bit of a struggle, a little bit. Now, they did get Kadarius Toney from the Giants. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a massive change in their wide receiver core. We'll see if it makes a difference, as long as he's not faking injuries and sitting on the sideline.
He's magically healthy now.
Yeah, because now when you have Patrick Mahomes and not Daniel Jones, it becomes a whole thing. Now, that's not a shot. Daniel Jones has actually been playing well. Now, obviously, we're not talking about them this week because they're on the bye this week.
By the way,
credit is due, though. They've played really well.
Yeah.
I can't believe I did this, and I'm going to stick with it because I'm usually a man of my word when I make my picks. I think they cover. I think Mahomes is due, and I just think we don't know who's quarterbacking for the Titans. They're saying it's a game time decision on Tannehill. Usually, when they say game time decision, that usually means they don't play. So I think it's going to be what is it, Wilkins or Wilkes?
Malik Willis from Liberty.
Willis. I think it's going to be Willis. And if that's the case, I think they're going to trance over the Titans. So I think they cover.
So I think it's crazy because here the Titans come in winners of 5 straight, and behind Derrick Henry, who's been running like crazy this year. And you look
220 yards.
Yeah, and you look at this Chiefs team, and yeah, the last time we saw them coming up before their bye week, they put up 40 points against a very good defensive team there, the 49ers. But this Titans defense is also very, very good too, and one to be reckoned with. That defensive front is scary. I know Mahomes is very good when it comes to picking out mismatches, but as much as we like to talk about how Kansas City is a home field advantage, let's look at their history so far this season at home. They've had 2 games against the AFC West where they won but not covered. They lost outright to the Bills. So I definitely could see Kansas City winning this, but I don't know if they win this game by 13 or more points. So I'm going with the Titans plus the 12.5. I'm not going to say to win outright, but I will grab them plus the points here because I just think that's too much to be laying here with Kansas City. And I will make one bold prediction about this game on Sunday night. Kadarius Toney will have a touchdown catch in this game.
Interesting.
Absolutely. I think he will have an impact. I think he's in a very, very good system. I think part of the thing with the Giants was that I just don't think he was a Brian Dable guy, and that totally makes sense. When a new coaching staff comes in there, he wants his guys, and you've seen him do that this year. One of the many reasons why he's been the best coach in the league this year. But Titans cover, but I think the Chiefs do get this done coming off their bye week on Sunday night. Hank agrees with you. He is going to take the Chiefs minus the 12.5 on Sunday Night Football. And then we wrap up the week with Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters on Monday Night Football on ESPN. And, Nick, this is a game that I think I had the toughest time picking this week, if you can say that, as the Baltimore Ravens travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And it's the Ravens who are 2.5-point favorites.
Now, we were discussing this beforehand. Massive injuries on both sides. I think you said Lattimore for the Ravens. And then on the Saints, it's Michael Thomas, who's done for the year again for the second straight year.
Yeah, so the injuries on each side the injuries for each team that are very significant. Bateman for the Ravens out for the season, and yes, Michael Thomas is out for the Saints.
Yeah, big time injuries. I think the Saints with Michael Thomas is worse. He's the number one target, and he's off the field. Now, Andy Dalton has looked amazing since he's basically took the job away from Jameis Winston. And I think Jameis Winston, hot take, might be out of the league after this year because I think he got too cocky and got injured, and now he's not going to have a job anymore. I just think the Ravens are the better team. Again, I think the line is small. I think they're going to win by more than 2.5. I could see them winning by 7 or 8 at least, winning by a touchdown. I would take the Ravens to cover.
God, the Saints are such a different team at home. That's the thing too. You know, when you look at them at home this year, they put up 39 points against the Seahawks. They shut out the Raiders. How the heck they shut out a team is amazing, but that's just football in 2022. But I go back to their defense here for this pick, Nick, and that run defense for the Saints is actually really, really good. And we saw the Ravens last time they played last Thursday against the Bucs, running for over 200 yards. I don't think they're going to be able to do that here. And I'm going to take the Saints plus the 2.5 in upset special number 4, I think it is, in this one. So yeah, the Saints win this game outright on Monday Night Football. And Hank, though, will agree with you. He's going to take the Ravens minus the 2.5 to wrap up week number 9. Well, like we said, folks, this was one of the more challenging weeks in terms of picks against the spread. So we'll see how well we do. And we are now at the official halfway point of the NFL season. We are in November, which is the month of decision in the NFL. And we are also at a very, very busy time yet again in terms of the world of sports. And so we will see you back. Hank and I will see you back on Tuesday for episode 32 of Game On. And boy, we have so much to discuss there on Tuesday. We've got obviously the World Series, which will be wrapped up. We've got, the Yankee press conference, which happened on Friday, to react to. We've got, obviously all the football, both pro and college. We've even got some football news inside of itself. And of course, the very latest on Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. So it's already shaping up to be a busy show on Tuesday. So we hope to see you there. We'll see you also back next week for the latest installment of the Monty Moment on Thursday, which will react to the latest college football playoff rankings. And then, of course, back here on Friday for our Football Friday picks. And that's what's going on. So, Nick, thanks for filling in. We will see you on Beyond the Bench and Empty the Bench as well. And so, folks, enjoy your football weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday for Game On. We'll see you Thursday for the Monty Moment. And then right back here for our Football Friday picks next week.